Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Koality Gaming Podcast featuring Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier. Today's topic is something that's been on social media off and on over the past week or so, with some topics picking up a little bit of heat here and there. And one in particular really got some good comments, so we're going to take that here and discuss it further. As always, I am Mr. Koala, and thank you for watching. Let's take a look at that post and get it started. Am I the only one who actually likes Ranger? Everybody complains about it being terrible, and honestly, I don't agree. As a sniper main, playing Ranger has been great. I do agree that the style is at the bottom of the totem pole in solo, but honestly, in teams, I feel like the Ranger is broken AF. Discuss CranCarry. Now, there's a few things going on in this post, and I think I needed to bring in some backup in order to properly break this down. So, the first person I'm going to bring in is none other than CranCarry, the person who posted this. Cran, how you doing today? Try that one more time. Cran, how you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you. Thank you, and appreciate you having me. Appreciate it.
All right. And the second person that I brought in today is someone who is what I'm going to consider the build master at this point. He's been every other day he's posting up these awesome builds on Facebook. I've worked with him a few times on Koality Play Live. Verinius, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for the invitation, Koala, and so excited to be here right now and talk to you guys about what we're going to talk about today.
And you wrote this post, and you were very straightforward in the beginning of it where you said, am I the only one who likes Ranger? So why don't you go ahead and tell me what you like about the Ranger? What are some pros about the Ranger class?
So to start, I mean, I'm a sniper main. A lot of people in the community probably know. I mean, I've got a Mark V in my hand at all times as soon as I can get one. So obviously, having the Rangers kit, the utility of it all, just goes hand in hand with being a sniper. So being able to pop shots in the back, aiming over somebody, even if you don't take the shot, to be able to mark them for your team. And then obviously hitting them with a shot then marks them for a couple of seconds, allows your team to kind of know if you're saying, hey, here's somebody, let's focus on him, or hey, I'm going to pop somebody. You'll see your team now has valuable information as that guy's been tagged. I know that's the guy we need to be aiming for, and that's kind of the focus of a ranger. Let me mark people. Let me tell you guys who we're going after, what we're doing, and that's kind of my basic understanding of the role. And then on top of that, that's your distance kit, and then pushing even further into it, going into a close quarters combat, being able to scan cities like Sector 7 or Sector 5, and having so many tight corridors and buildings and things. This one assess just it clears the whole village for you, or lets you know if there's anybody there. So I think that is a huge piece, especially even going down in the later phases when, let's say, there's another team of two or three, or just one person hiding around, to be able to get the advantage to know where they're at, especially if they're hiding somewhere so they can't catch you by surprise. And also, assess does also pick up gravity traps that are on the floor. Another huge thing to throw into the mix there. So a lot of little things that add into the kit that I truly believe that a lot of people are underutilizing Ranger.
All right, so I saw another comment on another post. Believe it was on Verinius's generalist Ranger build, and he said that the Ranger is not your favorite class. Now, what makes it less appealing than other classes to you, Verinius?
All right. Just to be clear, even though I said it's my least favorite class, it doesn't mean that I don't like it. Okay, so I do like Ranger, and I completely agree with everything that Kran said. Now, why it's not my favorite though is because I just have more fun with the other classes. For example, Warrior can dash in. It's fun to do melee attacks. Monk has melee attacks and has a lot of survivability. Plus, it can make walls, right? And Sorcerer, I really love Sorcerer. I've been playing it. It's my main. I've been playing it since launch. Ninja, you can double jump, launch Feragas. But and in teams, Ranger is the best. Like if you have a Ranger in your team, that just brings so much utility. Because Ranger is all about usefulness, and if you have that Ranger, like you have a step, you have an advantage over all other teams because no one can hide, and you have so much information compared to the other team. But when it comes to solos and when it comes to like fighting and offensive capabilities, they have the least number of advantages. You do have information, for example. Of course, you have the assess, very, very useful, quite powerful, I must say. Uh, and just so you know, there's some people, because I only learned about this recently. You know that assess circle, when you use the assess circle, it's just a graphic. It doesn't mean that you can only capture people outside of the circle as long as you keep moving for like 5 seconds. That makes it very, very powerful. But when the circle is very small, right? And if you're in the final phase, and the circle is very small, and everything is. So in that way, assess sort of loses its utility a little bit because you'd rather have a trance or a warrior charging in or something when you're in an open field and stuff. And my play style isn't like that. Favorite doesn't mean that I don't doesn't mean that other people who play ranger are wrong. Okay, it's just that it's just not my play style. But totally, if you're a sniper like CranCarry, it is the best style to use. Ranger is the best, but I'm not a sniper. I'm more of a frontliner kind of player, which is why, and in that kind of situation, I would rather use a different style when playing in the front lines.
All right,
Yeah, I
so it's pretty clear that that the Ranger is more focused on not necessarily just team play, but being a distance player. Where Verinius, you're saying that you prefer to play close range. Cran is saying that he likes to play snipers and a far range. So the Ranger really fits hand in hand with him.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you did cut out, and I'm not sure if it cut out on your end too, Qual, but I think what you were talking about was kind of what I refer to as the scan and go, utilizing a scan and jumping onto a chocobo or jumping onto a motorcycle or a jeep and pushing forward or pushing into a direction, which then relays that information. Still, it's not just a scan that hits the area and then it's done. It's an active scan for a period of time, which I don't know the period of time, but it's actually a good amount of time. It's probably close to 15 seconds, I would say, maybe 10 to 15 seconds just off the top of my head. But yeah, I think you cut out there, so I just wanted to clarify that that's what you were talking about, correct?
Yeah, correct.
I'm
Yeah,
happy
scan
that
and go.
I'm happy that you guys are touching on this because personally, I felt like that was like a basic thing, and you guys are making it sound like it's advanced. So I'm glad that you guys are touching on it because I was doing that. Like as soon as I hopped on Ranger, I scanned and I ran, and I'm like I'm finding as many people as I can. So I didn't know that that wasn't common knowledge. I'm really happy that you guys are sharing this with the general community here.
Yeah, I don't know if it's common knowledge, but I will say that there are quite a few people that when I started doing it were like, yo, like I didn't know you can do that. And it was a handful of people. It wasn't just one or two people. It was, quite a few. So,
Yeah, it
yeah,
follows you.
I'd love to share any information about the game, just like Verinius, over here making build guides for everybody. That's what this community is about. And honestly, that's one of the great things about this community. It might be small right now, and a lot of people are trying to help build it, but everybody's so nice and everybody's so supporting in this community. So I really do hope to see this game take off, and I hope that the developers do market this game the right way because it has tons of potential, as we all know. But there's so many other people out there that don't know that and haven't even tried playing this game. So if those people give this game a chance, I guarantee, like six out of eight players are gonna stick with it because it's a great battle royale game at the end of the day. So, yeah.
All right, so we touched on assess, so I'm going to hop over to another comment that we saw on another post, and this post simply said, "Do you use it?" and it had an image along with it, and that image was just a shot of. For those of you who don't know, this is the Ranger's second ability, and that is you can control a slugblade and fly it around the map like a recon drone. So this is the post that was posted. I'm going to take a look at a couple of comments that were made on this post. So does anybody use it? The first comment says 100% useless. Second comment was posted up by Jensen, and he says, I think they should change how the drone works. Like you can control the drone and place it somewhere you want it to be placed. Then everyone on the drone site will be marked. And you can still control your player while doing that. It obviously has to have a timer so it won't be OP. That sounds super fun. Like if it was something like that, I think it would be pretty viable. I'm gonna toss this one over to Verinius because again, I feel like you're the build master. Do you feel like the Ranger's second ability to control the slug ray is useful in this meta at all?
Uh, in this meta, I don't think so because when you use that second skill, it leaves you vulnerable actually. So you're just sitting there in one spot, and I would much rather have assess instead of that because okay, you might have a drone and you know where the enemies are, but the enemies are moving, right? They're just moving. What if they're hiding behind walls? The drone can't see that. And unlike if you use assess, you'll be able to tag them even though they're behind walls. So I would much rather have assess. So I agree with reworking that skill. The ranger definitely either needs a rework or a buff on any, or at least like any buff would be welcome on the ranger, aside from the duration of the assess. And actually, might as well talk about this. There are some skills. I think the tag. I forgot what it's called when you use your scope to mark an enemy, it gets marked. I'm not sure if it appears for the teammates because I've tried it and I asked my friends. They said they didn't see it. But when you scan, they do see the assess, right? But I'm not sure if they see it when you use that passive skill. So I think making that visible for the teammates is a welcome buff. Another one would be the reload speed. At first I thought it was not that good, but when I started using Ranger, it's actually very good. You can outgun practically anyway. Your lethal gaze fires fast. I mean, lethal gaze is a good gun, but when you're on one, the reload speed really counts. You can outgun somebody, and that effectively like increases your damage output because you can fire more bullets, and of course you're carrying more bullets, right? So I just wanted to say that because it does have a place in the map. Ranger does have a place, and it does have some offensive capabilities. But it's unfortunate that that slug ray skill
Yeah, so
is just
it has a place,
yeah,
just not the slug ray skill. Cran, do you have
it's
any
not the slug ray skill.
any opinion on that, or you're in agreement there?
No, it's the best skill in the game. No,
All right.
for sure.
Hey, I mean,
No.
Cran has played other games with me before, and he knows that I am the person that takes the one thing that sucks in the meta and tries and beats it like a dead horse until it will work. So I'm gonna be running Recon Drone as soon as I level it up. I haven't played Ranger at all, so as soon as I level up Ranger, I will run Recon Drone and I will make it work.
It is pretty useless. I do agree. It's. I mean, I've seen one situation where the guy actually used it, and it was like it was smart. He was hiding in a bush. It was final circle. It was 1-on-1. The guy crouched in the bush, threw the drone up in the air, so you can get this drone to go pretty high up, and then you can shoot. And he, obviously can see at that point. He saw his body, so he knew if he was ever at a point of danger and that person got too close, kill the drone and attack this person. But all he did was harass the guy from up top. And honestly, the guy didn't know what the fuck was going on, dude. He was like, "Yo, what is happening right now?" He was turning in circles and trying to figure out where he's getting hit from, and So I mean, could it be useful? Maybe with a buff. Now, kind of what referring back to the Facebook comment where they're like, "Hey, maybe I can position it somewhere and have it be kind of a recon drone." It sounds kind of like I'm blanking on the name, but Apex Legends Crypto.
Yep.
Crypto has ability just like that. So I mean that definitely is it would be stealing a game mechanic, but it would be very useful in that sense if that was the ability, and maybe even hey, throw up the drone somewhere, and maybe it doesn't recon everything, but you have a mini map or you have a kind of like a little mirror in your HUD that shows you what that drone is seeing, something like that. Give it a little bit more of a reason for somebody to use it a little more tactically than to just say, what, this ability is useless. There's no reason for me to run this over assess because assess is extremely powerful. So yeah, I agree. It's pretty useless in the current state of the meta for sure.
All right, so that's a pretty good segue. I mean, we're pretty much beating the Recon Drone to death here, and we're doing that because I think the general consensus is that access is the Ranger's like biggest plus as far as like what the Ranger brings to the table. So we're gonna hop back over to do a comment on that original post again, and this one says, "Assess is so underrated. I've destroyed entire teams solo, just waiting for them to pop around a corner and eat a fireball and a handful of bullets without so much as a scratch on me." Now, I mean, that pretty much gives a very detailed description of what assess can do. I'm gonna hop over to Cran. Cran, tell me like some ways that you use assess on the map and why it is such a powerful skill.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of like you said, your ability to scan, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, hey, there's a ranger. Let me go chase that guy." Well, yeah, you're coming to chase me, but I know where you're at, so I'm gonna aim at a corner, and I'm gonna wait for you to pop that corner. Whether I'm using a sniper or a lethal gaze, I'm gonna have the advantage because I know exactly where you're gonna be at that moment. Where you're coming out, just knowing there's a ranger somewhere out there. I saw that scan. Let's go get him. Well, yeah, it puts you at a huge advantage to just be able to see, okay, this is where they're coming from. They're coming around that corner. Let me pre-aim that corner and get ready to trigger. So yeah, I mean, it definitely is useful in that way. It's huge. And then still, just like I said earlier, just being able to scan and go, just jump on a Chocobo and go find people. If you're just looking for people, whether it's early game, mid game, or late game, late game is a huge thing. You know, like you have that assess at such a small little field, and if you still have your Chocobo up late game into the final phases, and you have assess, you're powerful. You're a target at that point because you being able to jump on a Chocobo, run around and scan and just locate one person. That's all it takes. Maybe that one person is not linked with those other two people right next to them. And that's giving you two options. You either take that person out real quick if you can force the one-on-one, or hey, you just fed information to your team. You back up on that Chocobo and run back to your team, and now you know where you're focusing. So a lot of useful ways that you can use it. I mean, that's definitely one of them. So
Verinius, would you like to add any uses for assess that you've come across?
Yeah, when I made the experimental build on Generalist Ranger, the point of that was trying to make a build that I would enjoy, which is why it has a bomb launcher and a lethal gaze. But when I was playing it and I was trying to fight close range, there was something that I found very powerful for Ranger. It's blind, actually blind, because when you use blind and you use assess, you know where your enemy is, and your enemy doesn't know where you are, and you can shoot them freely. So that's one very nice way to fight close range using a ranger. Just because I know a lot of people they think blind is useless, but actually when you use ranger, it's actually useful. It's defensive cover, but with ranger, it really shines. You can use it offensively now because of assess. So uh, that's why it's so powerful. Like assess just gives you so much information, and I can imagine blind costs only one MP. It's such a huge area, and it's defensive and offensive in the hands of a ranger because now you know where to fight.
I
So
can't.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
So are spraying through that smoke, it's not choppy as hell. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
We're gonna see a ton of people running blind from this point on. Like everywhere we look, there's just gonna be smoke bombs
Oh,
flying at us
Yeah,
now. We're
we talked about
setting
it
the trend
before.
right here. Yeah, right in this game, right before this, we did that.
Yeah, just talking about it. I mean, Senpai, or as other people know him in game, 4K Izzo runs it, and he drops into solo squads a lot, and he runs it, and he's amazing with it. I mean, whether you start taking a shot at him, and he pops it down to run away and retake cover and get a different angle on you. I mean, yeah, blind's powerful in the right hands. It's super underrated in my opinion as well. So. Yeah, I mean, watch out for it. I guess some people are starting to get smarter, just like Rennie said, using it at an offensive advantage. Throw a smoke down, use a scan. That's huge. So
Well, like we said, assess is really strong. I mean, Cran said in his original post that it's lower in the solo ranking, but it's really good for watching you back in solos. And it seems like in the community we all agree that, or at least if we put it to a vote, a lot of people right now would be saying that Rangers might be a must-have in parties. I'm gonna toss it over to you, Verinius. Do you feel like Rangers are a must-have in parties right now?
oh yeah, they're very good. Although I've had some games where we didn't have a ranger and we still won, but there were situations, especially in cities, the undercity and entertainment district, where you wish you had a ranger because you don't know where they are. There's so many walls, there's so many houses. But I do think having a ranger, I would always prefer having a ranger on my team,
Yep.
just because of that assess. So ranger is definitely at the top of the list when it comes to team games. For solos, I have to agree with you. It does fall down a bit, but for teams, it really shines because of so much information that it offers.
Grant, is there anything like you would like to add with Rangers in teams? Do you feel like it's a must-have, or can you substitute it with something else?
I mean, I don't say it's a must-have. I really do think, just like Renee has mentioned earlier, it does depend on people's play styles. So yeah, I mean, if a player is a good sniper and that person knows that they have decent aim, more than 50% of the time, because sometimes it just isn't there. Yeah, I mean, I feel like having a ranger just puts your team at such an advantage. I mean, at every phase in the game, we're not just saying late game, it's early game, it's mid game, it's late game. All three phases of the game, you've got a pretty good advantage by having a ranger on your team. And if they don't have a ranger on the team and you do, you just have a huge advantage over that other team. If it's a ranger and a ranger on one team, it's kind of like, okay, we both are feeding information to our team. We know this fight's about to go down because everybody knows everybody's position at that point. But if you have a ranger and they don't, it could pretty much give you the fight in your favor.
Yeah, can I add something?
Oh, go right ahead.
Yeah, all right. So Cran was mentioning a sniper build, which is one of the more obvious ways of using a ranger. But then there's also some other passive builds. For me, I like using. So I know a lot of people like using sniper eye and silencer because it's really helpful when sniping and catching enemies off guard. They don't know where you are. For me, I like using acute sense because when someone uses their scope on you, your character will say that someone's locked onto me or something like that. So that lets you know that even if you're not aware of it, when you hear that sound, when you hear a character say that, you know there are enemies nearby. So for me, it's an added layer of defense. Even though, and when you can see where they are because their scope is shining, like
Yeah.
there's a glimmer, a light there. So immediately that's more information passive. It doesn't have a cooldown. It's always active. Whenever someone looks at you, your character will say it, and then you know you're in danger or you know there's someone nearby. And you can use that information to decide whether you want to attack or you want to go behind cover. Usually you have to go behind cover first and find where the enemy is. So for me, that's what I like using because again, I'm not a sniper. I'm a more of a close range fighter. So if you want to play that way, where you want to be in the center of things, probably consider acute sense. It will really it's quite fun actually. It will help you as well.
That's
Yeah,
the. Oh, go
it's
ahead.
it's fun. It's not like the greatest in my opinion. I mean, I definitely see usefulness, and just like you said, the sound cue is huge. Just knowing when somebody's aiming at you, whether you see them or not, that's a huge advantage as well. Right, and to double back on what you said earlier, because I'm not aware if when you're using sniper's eye, you said you've tested it and you've had people say that they can't see that, which I would be really it's really useful information to know whether that's true or not, because that then would maybe make me think twice about running sniper's eye, because I might be then just run the
Maybe
cute.
we can test it some more. Maybe you can test it. Let me know if it does appear for your teammates because I haven't confirmed it yet. But
Yeah,
based on my experiment so far, yeah.
this weekend, and I'll let you guys know, or if you get to it before me, let me know. But yeah, it definitely would be extremely useful information for us and everybody in the community to know. So
All right. So as always, the goal of this stream is to bring high-end content to the community, and I guess the goal of tonight's stream specifically is to introduce Ranger to the meta and give some people some insight into Ranger's strengths and weaknesses. So I'm going to hop into one more comment that we saw on Cran's original post about the Rangers and whether or not they like them. And Ronnie post, I'm just playing as usual because originally he said that Cran's opinion was trash, which I mean I've seen in the chat tonight people agree on. I was I was on one crazy hot streak when I was leveling Ranger. Went on a whole week without losing. People forget that you can reload faster, carry more potions and ammo. The assess buff is great. If you pay attention, it also tells you who you're up against. It shows you the class next to their name. It also gives that information to your teammates. Also, depending on who you're up against, you might play differently. Sometimes knowing the name of the player is helpful. I usually run the same build. So if they assess me and see my name, they're going to know that I'm running like Warrior or something like that. So is there, I'm going to start with Verinius on this one. Is there any pointers that you would give to Rangers starting out in this game?
Yeah. A lot of again, we keep repeating that the power of the Ranger is in the information. So for new players, when you get that information, it's up to you to decide on what to do with it. Okay, so just because you have information doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win that fight or that you're going to dominate everyone. it's still up to the individual player based on his knowledge of the game, of the players, of the different builds, what to do with that information. So if you see someone, you see the name, you see a sorcerer. For example, if you see my name and you know I'm running sorcerer, I'm probably running Gravity Fire Arrow, which is my Gravity Sorcerer build, right? But if you're a new player and you don't know that, you might just think, oh, just a sorcerer, I can kill this. He just uses materia, right? So make sure to train yourself as well on how other styles work, or the builds, the meta builds, and how other styles would play. The distances of gravity, distance of warrior dash, the monk's distance in dashing as well, and the ninja's double jump, of course. So it takes a lot of training and experience. But again, it comes with playing more. It comes with experience. So as you play more games and you fail more, you learn more lessons from your failures. You just get better and better with the information given to you from that style.
Now, Cran, I've been playing with you since launch. I've seen you play Warrior, I've seen you play Sorcerer, I've seen you play Ninja, and now you're on to Ranger. How does this class compare to the others? And again, same question to you. What pointers would you give to someone starting out on Ranger?
So I'll start with the pointers. I mean, really just going to be, again, just kind of like touching what Verinius said is kind of like, yeah, you get that information, but you're almost kind of like the play caller in a sense. So voice chat becomes very, very important, especially at higher end gameplay. If that's what you're going for, you're trying to be competitive. A lot of the people are going to request that you jump into Discord. As we all know, the in-game voice chat is just not going to do it, at least not now. Hopefully in the future they get it done. That would be great. It allows you to play with a little bit more versatility and with randoms being able to utilize in-game voice chat. But right now, yeah, you should be using Discord if you are planning on being a competitive player per se. So that's one big thing. But again, just being kind of a strat caller in a sense. It's like, hey, here's the information that we've got, with you having comms to be able to tell your team, hey, let's focus this person, or hey, I'm popping this person right now. Let's all focus that guy, or whatever the situation is. And also pinging is super huge in the game. A lot of people don't ping, or don't, like, a lot of people that I played with maybe a month ago didn't really even know you could ping in the game. And to be honest, I think you were the one that told me, Koala, when I first got my Razor Kishi. I didn't know you could ping, and then you're like, hey, double tap the joystick. That is huge on Ranger. So aiming with a sniper and just spotting somebody and being able to double tap real quick and just say, hey, they're right there. I just saw somebody right there, because you're aiming there. You're as a Ranger, you're playing with a sniper. You're scouting most of the time. So if you see them, even if it's a glimpse of a chocobo just jumping, and you see just real quick, somebody's in that direction. So just to be able to give your team a heads up, like, hey, there is somebody in that general direction, be careful, it's huge. So and then as far as how I compare Ranger to everybody else, really the only person I'm still working on now is Monk. So I can't really speak to Monk, but not really my play style. Somebody who I play with, his name's Brian. He is a very good monk. He runs like Raise, Cure, and something else. I couldn't tell you what exactly, but I see the potential in it, but it's just not my play style. Just like Verenia said, maybe Ranger's just not for him, and he enjoys playing Sorcerer or Warrior a little bit more. I'll say that Ranger's probably going to be number 1 or number 2. I'm kind of Ninja and Ranger, or I'm just in between both. I enjoy playing both. Sorcerer's fun every once in a while when I just feel like I just want to go out there with a bunch of fireballs and just not ever have to worry about my MP. So that's always fun. And Warrior's always good, just like for what your reason is, just being able to slice and dice in a battle royale game and just get in their face. It's fun. So it definitely shakes things up, and that's the great thing about this game. There's so many different styles, and obviously rolling into season 2, we're getting another style, and it's like, over time, I mean, as a Final Fantasy, follower, I'm not the hugest, I'm not the biggest fan of Final Fantasy. I've played Final Fantasy 7, I've 13 stuff, but I'm nowhere near like that, super huge into Final Fantasy person. But I'm a competitive person, as Koala. So again, I'm just really hoping that this takes off. Again, I've found a game that I really enjoy, and I know, again, a lot of people here, will agree with that. It's a really good game. So.
All right, so with that, we're getting a little closer to the end of our scheduled time here, and I want to open this up to the chat room. Is there anybody in the chat room that has any questions for Verinius or CranCarry? It doesn't have to do with Ranger. If you have questions about Ranger, feel free, but any questions in general, feel free to ask. We have Let's see. Tess says tips on not panicking in matches.
Uh, I can touch on this. I remember I can vividly remember my first win in this game because I was so nervous. And it was on touch, mind you. At the time, I didn't have my Kishi, but I was playing touch. It was probably the first 2-3 days of the game, whatever. And yeah, I remember I was at that last 1-on-1, and I'm in solos, and I was like shaking, and I'm like, oh my god, like how do I just calm myself down? Breathe. That's it. You eventually get to the point where it's like, okay, I got my first win. That's cool. Now let's get the next one and the next one. And then it just becomes repetitive, and you settle into it. And it's just all about, honestly, learning to breathe is a huge thing that I learned in competitive games, because I'm a person that used to hold my breath, and I just learning to breathe and just in through the nose, out through the mouth while you're playing it will definitely help you from shaking and helping with those nerves. That's my input. So
For me, I do that, but I have like hyper focus, so I do a checklist. So you heard me saying it earlier. I was learning about my new trigger controller. So every time I'm about to go into a gauge, I'm like, oh, okay, lightning's this button, and bio's this button, or fire's this button, and I prep myself. I'm like, fire, like shoot my gun is this button, and I'm ready. The second I go into the fight, I know where all my buttons are, and I'm ready to go, and it works every single time. Just going through that quick checklist. I know that it's not easy for everybody to do that, but in that moment where Cran just said, take a deep breath, do that. Take a deep breath. Think about what fingers press what button, and then engage. And then you'll be one in touch with your hands. Verinius, is there anything you'd like to add? All set? All right. You lagged out a little bit there.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, I totally agree with what everyone said so far. I'd like to add that if you're the type to panic in the middle of a gunfight, find some cover, go behind a wall, go inside a house, or go behind a boulder or a higher elevation, and then look at your bullets. Do you need to reload? Look at your health. Do you need to heal? Look at your cooldowns. Is your ability on cooldown? I'm a sorcerer, so my trance cooldown goes really long. So are your cooldowns proper? And then where are your enemies? Are you surrounded, or are they just one direction? So try to get as much information as you can while you're in cover. If you don't know where your enemy is, then they're probably on a higher elevation or inside a window. Then don't go out in the open. Stay in cover. When you're moving, go behind cover. Now, if you're panicking while you're fighting, that's natural. Even I still panic, get nervous when I'm fighting. But as Kran said, it just comes with experience. You play more, it gets more repetitive. You get more desensitized to it. Eventually, you just focus on the game. You'll hyper focus, and all the skills that you've been training, it just comes off naturally. Your maneuver, materia aim, your gun aim, everything. So just keep playing, and the more you play, the more you'll fail, and then the more you learn, and then eventually it won't be as much anymore.
Yeah, so I mean that's big right there. So one of the biggest mindsets that I'm going to touch on in real quick here is that I see in competitive games, and I'm going to touch back again even further to something Cran said, where he's not the biggest Final Fantasy player. I have never played a Final Fantasy game other than this one. I've been that's not completely true. I played the MMO a couple times. I played 7 when I was a kid, like the demo that came with my PlayStation. I played 10-2 when it was on PS2, but that was at a friend's house. So like I've never played Final Fantasy, so I'm coming in here with the competitive spirit and something that I've seen that is translated from other competitive games. It's not even battle royales, it's competitive games as a whole. Is this mindset that you get angry when you lose, and that's like that doesn't make sense to me because the spirit of competition is that, especially in video games in esports, is that when I lose, I get to queue up for another game and play again. And I'm going to learn from what I lost the last time. Like I just talking to Cran about a game earlier where I had this guy dead to rights. It was a third party, last guy in the circle. He finished off somebody. It was just me and him. He has no idea where I am. I'm hiding behind a wall. I see him and I charge him with my sword instead of just pulling out the gun and shooting him. And I said to myself, I'm like, why did I throw materia? Why did I throw my sword when I had my gun? And now, like, when I'm going into a gunfight, I realize, like, I'm like, hey, you have guns, you have materia, and you have your sword. You can't lock onto one of those things. So having the mindset of being able to learn from your mistakes and know that the next game is going to be is going to be there. You don't have to worry about this game I just lost. You're going on to the next one. Now, I understand that changes when we get into a tournament scene, but from there, I mean, you just go to the next tournament, you get better, you win.
Right.
All right, so it doesn't look like we have any more questions. So we're gonna do a little bit of wrap up here. Before I do my outro, I want to talk about where people can find you guys, because I'm very thankful that you're here for today. So first off, thank you. CranCarry, where can people look for you?
So Twitch, CranCarry, and then yeah, I mean, all my information's there. I'm planning to start a stream schedule, so hopefully I can get that locked down and get you guys some streaming regularly. So, yeah, I mean, again, CranCarry, or my Instagram is JROW02. That's it.
All right, and Verinius, where can people find you?
Please go to my YouTube channel, which is just Verinius, the same as my name. And I usually post builds and guides. I'm speaking of pings, I'm planning to make a ping guide for everyone. Just a 2 minute, I post short tutorials, 5 minutes maximum. I try to make it less than 5 minutes, but you can go to YouTube at Verinius and you'll find some tutorials there.
I will say that Verinius is definitely who inspired me down some of my video uh, starting out in this game, because he posted an accessory guide very early on, and I was like, this is gold. I need to make a video out of this, and I made the video, and then I reached out to him in the next one. I said, hey, listen, we got a collab, and we've done a few of them here, and I love your quick little video. So if you have a chance, check out his YouTube. There's lots and lots of good information, and if you have the chance, check out Facebook, because he's really good at posting good guides there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I see your stuff on Facebook, and yeah, man, you keep it up, man. You're pumping out some real good quality content for this community. Again, there's not a lot of people out there. I honestly don't have the time, or I would try to commit a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, dude, what you're doing is valued from people like me, and I'm sure a lot of other people out there. So continue to do what you're doing, and same right back at you, Koala. I mean, what you're doing, you are the first person in this community to start doing this type of content, which you call high quality content. It is what it is. So podcasting and starting to coordinate tournaments in small tournaments, progressing into custom lobbies. Yeah, and I know, again, there's other people out in the community, which I want to give a quick shout out to, which is going to be Nox and Legit Vocals, who are going to start doing a podcast as well. So I did want to mention them. I know they already have been talking about it, and I did comment to them. I didn't want to kind of step on their toes. Got their blessing so that I could post the stream inside of their Discord servers. So again, huge shout out to them for letting me do that, and I look forward to your guys' content as well. Totally gonna tune into that, and I'll be a participant if you guys need me, and I'm sure everybody else in the community is gonna throw themselves at you. So don't forget about your boy.
All right, thank you guys one more time. All right, and with that, thank you everybody for tuning in today for the Koality Gaming podcast featuring Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier.